everyone, welcome to the start of a new reading vlog. So let me catch you up to where I am. I don't have much, but what I've been reading has been amazing, and I want to let you know what I'm planning on reading going forward in the next weekish. We'll see how long this reading vlog spans. The first book that I want to talk about that I read this week was Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This is her newest release. This is The Hate You Give #0. It's a prequel to The Hate You Give. It follows Star's father and his story as a teenager and becoming a young father. I'm kind of to the point now where Angie Thomas can do literally nothing poorly. It was amazing. This is a lot tamer of a story compared to her other two books. It still tackles heavy concepts, but I feel like it's less traumatic compared to her first two stories. So this is following Star's father when he is 17, and he finds out that he is the father of a baby that he had with a girl that he hooked up with just once randomly, and it's him being thrust into parenthood with little to no help. Basically, his mom is helping, and he basically has to figure out how to juggle school and getting a job and having no money and trying to leave the gang lifestyle, but also kind of being sucked into selling drugs to help support his family, and then quickly finding out that he has a second baby on the way. So this is a story that I feel is such an important story. I feel Angie Thomas is just bringing light to stories that should have been told decades ago. This one is obviously taking place 17 years before the start of The Hate You Give, which is a very modern contemporary story. So this is taking place in early 2000s. And it was a story that I wish that I could have given to so many people in my high school. I went to a school that teenage pregnancy was honestly very, very common, and it was, even though it was really common, and even though everybody understood how and why, and the struggles that you go through being a kid yourself and having to also raise a child and stay in school and pay for all of the childcare and all of the things, it was still taboo, and it was still a thing that nobody talked about. And this talks about it. This just rubs your face in the reality of what it's like having a kid when you're still a kid. And it was so real, and it just gave me so much more respect for Maverick as the father figure that we kind of knew him as in The Hate You Give. And how hard he worked to get to where he is, and why he believes so firmly in giving his kids the best life that he struggled to have himself. It was just so good. I gave it 4 stars. It was less hard-hitting than the first ones, but it was still a vitally important story that I'm so glad she told, so that we can kind of get more background perspective on everything that happened in the first book. It was fantastic. Just read Angie Thomas. She only has 3 books out. Read all 3 of them. All of them have important stories to be told, so that's my 2 cents on Angie Thomas. I love her. Next book that I'm reading, I am currently in the middle of it, and I am so excited to finish this book. This book is probably gonna make my favorites list of the entire year already. That is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. It's so good. This is a book that I feel has been sweeping the book community, and it is a standalone fantasy, which is such a rare breed of book to exist, and I was so excited because it's so good. This, I am pitching it the way it was pitched to me. It is Avatar: The Last Airbender meets the Poppy War. You put those 2 things in my mind, and I have to have it. And it's exactly that. We're following a couple characters in this book from the Matsuda family, and our main character, I'm gonna call him our protagonist, but I feel the points of views are going to kind of start to change their pacing. Mamoru is our main character, who is a 14-year-old boy who is in school that's essentially a military academy that is also training how to control your Jia, which is the bending skills, the ability to basically control water and ice. So they're water benders. And it does briefly touch on the concept of blood bending, which was the most mind-boggling thing of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we're dealing with that, and I'm starting to see Fire Nation influence. I'm only halfway through this book, and the first attack has happened, but it's very military and kind of political heavy, but it's mostly told from the perspective of the students at this point. It reminds me so much of the Poppy War. It's very strong Asian-inspired fantasy with really heavy military influence and a slight magic system. And it's perfection. I love it so much. So we're following him, but we're also following his mother, who is kind of forced into a not so healthy marriage and is basically just producing children because that's her only role in society. But we're steadily learning more about her past and how badass she was and still is and is starting to come back to, and how she knows a lot of like kick-ass things that she is slowly starting to introduce to Mamoru, and it's so good. And I don't know how else to express my love of this book. I'm only halfway through, so like things could change, but where I am, it's fantastic. It's super fast moving, very character and dialogue heavy, and I personally love that. And I don't have a full grasp of what is about to happen, but I have an idea of where it's going, and if it's going the direction the Poppy War is, I'm about to be severely hungover from this book because I know there is not a sequel to it, so that's gonna be rough. But we'll check in when that happens. Okie dokie, it is the weekend before A Court of Silver Flames, and I'm filming here, well, now there's a cat, but because I have both children here with me, so I thought, I don't know, this might be fun. But I've got reading updates. So I have not finished Sword of Kaigen yet. I'm pretty far into it. I think I have 3 hours left of the audiobook. But I'm not like as absorbed as I was when I started it, and I feel like it's a book that deserves my full attention, so I kind of put it aside, not for any reason other than I just am not in the mood for high fantasy right now. I'm still loving it. It's still probably gonna be a 5-star book. I just personally am not in the mood for intense, like, military warfare, so I set it aside for the book's sake. And I intend on picking it back up once I have finished reading A Court of Silver Flames like 10 times over. That's basically where my brain is. But to catch you up to this state, the things that I have read, let's see, let's open up Goodreads. I randomly listened to a nonfiction book about cave diving. It's called Into the Planet by Jill Heinerth, I think is how you say it. I'll put it on the screen. This was just a random book that was available through my library to listen to that I downloaded, and it was fascinating. This is generally the type of nonfiction I go towards. Generally a lot of things that I know zilch about and I am interested in, but it's stuff that I know that I will never have access to in my life. I mean, you can't say never, but I highly doubt I'm gonna become a world famous cave diver in my lifetime. That's a pretty safe assumption to have. Whoa, bye. Okay, Albus is done. Cricket is still here. We will shift over. There's the little pudge. So, this follows a woman who is like a world record holding cave diver, not only for being like the first woman to do a lot of stuff, but for being the best cave diver in the field and all of these things. I know none of these terms, but basically this is about her and all of her experiences learning how to do this and doing like incredible dives and kind of the psychology behind that type of person, which is not me, but I'm fascinated by the psychology of those types of people. And by that, I mean, there's like a very specific like chemical makeup for the type of people who just thrive on like life-endangering experiences that no one has ever had before. And that is 100% not me, but I am 100% interested in experiencing that in a safe way. So by that, I mean these people who do extremely deep dives in like the Arctic Circle, who are exploring caves and deep sea things that no human has ever experienced before. Like they are seeing things that no human has ever seen before. And the psychology behind endangering your life to get to experience that is fascinating to me, because like there is a very specific type of brain makeup where that is all that you thrive on, and like you are never going to be satisfied with like a normal mundane 9-to-5 job or a normal like stereotypical lifestyle. Like you just thrive on that experience of getting to do something that no human has ever done, regardless of like the risk. And that's fascinating to me. So this was an entire book about that. This was also an entire book that I held my breath through the entire time because it is so stressful and anxiety inducing, but it was so cool to like get inside the head of a person who doesn't think twice over putting on a wetsuit and leaving oxygen tanks through a cave system so that they can get further than any man has ever gotten before, and because everybody else has died trying to do that. What is that mindset? It's so cool to me. So this is very similar to people who go to outer space like, it's the same mindset where you're getting to experience something that no human has ever experienced. You get to see things no one has ever seen before, but there's unknown risk. Like, we don't even know what could potentially happen to the human body in this amount of pressure, with this lack of oxygen, with all these things that could go wrong. Okay, yeah, so I read this. It was an amazing read. If that's at all interesting to you, definitely check the book out. It's kind of stressful, but it was so cool to learn about cave diving when it's something that I know nothing about. Other books that I have picked up is Volume 2 of A Man and His Cat. This is the cutest thing in the entire world. It's just as good as Volume 1. It's literally about an old man who adopted an unwanted cat and their adventures together. And it's so stinking precious. Obviously, this is my lifestyle. Like, I can relate. I relate to every single panel that is in this entire manga, and I fully intend on reading all of this. And I know a lot of you guys recommended My Roommate is a Cat, I want to say. It's another manga series about, like, an introvert who has a cat and their life together, and I'm like, that's me. That's all my life is now. It's just me and my cats and my goats and my dog and my mini horse. And I should probably include my husband in that, because, you know, that's the human in my life, but cat life, man. It's a trip. And I also picked up Volume 1 of Norigami Stray God. This is one that one of you guys sent to me that has been very appealing to me. I am this far into it. I think there's 3 parts or 3 chapters. I still don't know manga lingo, but I'm this far, and it's like broken into 3 sections. And I read the first one, and it's fun. So far, this is, okay, it's chapters. Chapter 1. So I read The Man in the Sweatsuit. That's what I read so far of this book. And it's so cute. I don't know how I managed to put this down. I think I had to go to work the day that I picked it up, which I have to do today too. So maybe I'll just read one more chapter of this and then go to work. But this is about a god who is kind of like at the bottom of the pecking order, and he is for hire to like do small tasks for humans in order to try and like establish his role as like a god in like the system. I don't know how to describe it. I loved it though. I'm loving it. I guess I'm not finished. I can't say for sure, but so far so good. So we are that far into this one. What else have I read? I don't know if I really read much else. I'm kind of taking a break from reading a lot. Oh, I read Where I Come From, Stories from the Deep South by Rick Bragg. That's what's on my Goodreads right now. I read this. This was a very random book that just, again, popped up in like my library audiobook system that I downloaded because it seemed interesting to me. It mainly drew me in because it had a picture of the goat, and also I love reading books about country life. Like, it's the lifestyle that I live, and it's the lifestyle that I always kind of want to live. I love being a country farm girl, but I feel like it's such an interesting life to learn about just because I have very little interest in like fast-paced city living. So whenever I can read a book that like makes me feel at home, it's something I just gravitate towards. So I've never lived in the Deep South, so that is not something I can relate to. But the lifestyle where life kind of revolves around meal times and life revolves around just outdoor things, whether that is working on a farm or going fishing or going hunting or going just like out into the woods to play as a kid, and the experiences of just like kind of living farm life is something that I always enjoy reading from. So this is just a nonfiction book. Honestly, when I looked it up on Goodreads, it's like the least reviewed book from this author. There's only like 500 ratings of this book on there. I honestly don't even know where this book came from or why it showed up in my library system, but it was enjoyable. I'm probably giving it like 3 stars. It was nothing revolutionary, but it was just kind of like a memoir style story from Rick Bragg, just writing about living in, I think he's from Alabama. Yeah, he's a native to Calhoun County in Alabama. So it was just kind of like his like memoir of growing up, being like a kid in the Deep South and what the lifestyle is like compared to like the busy lifestyle elsewhere in the world. So it was just a cool, slow-paced story. It was very short, and it was honestly something really refreshing to read in like the dregs of winter that I'm in right now, because it is currently snowing and it will never stop snowing. I'm so sick of snow and it's cold. So that was kind of a mental break that I took, and I'm going to stop this vlog here because I'm about to start my reread of the ACOTAR series. I was debating going back and starting with book 1 because I've literally never read ACOTAR since the first time I read it. Whenever I do a reread, I start at Hello Feyre Darling in Akamath and go from there. But I was kind of debating going back to the start just because The next book that's coming out follows Nesta, and I feel like there could be breadcrumbs in the first book about Nesta when we first see her, when Feyre is still at home, but I don't care about Tamlin enough to put myself through that. So I think I'm just gonna start the wedding scene again and go from there. And I'm very excited. So I'm gonna cut this vlog here, and I am about to return to Prithian, and it's gonna be a jolly old time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this reading section. Let me know what you would like to see from me as far as ACOTAR content. I don't know if I'm gonna vlog my first read through of it. I guarantee I'm gonna read through it twice, so I might do a second one, just because I want to do a first impressions vlog video, but I also just want to experience the book 100% on my own without having to remember to pick up the camera, because it is the only book that I've been looking forward to for the past like 4 years, so I might just take it for myself and then do a wrap-up review. But let me know what you guys would like to see ACOTAR-wise, because it's coming. Content is coming. Okay, I will see you guys in my next video.